quickly began searching for a replacement for King Frederick. Basil's henchmen kidnapped a scamp, Raymond Aguera, then staged a terrible fire in his dwelling, killing his mother and 3 brothers, leaving no evidence. The Hansa then altered the young man's appearance, told him he was now Prince Peter, and began brainwashing him, using the teacher Compi, a companion robot, Ox, to instruct him in his new role. After the success of the Clickus torch, the archaeologists who had discovered the technology, Margaret and Louis Colicos, began a new excavation on the desert planet of Ring de Co, where ancient Clickus cities remained untouched. The only functional remnants of the alien civilization, their hulking, beetle-like robots, explained that their memories had been erased long ago. To learn more about their own past, 3 of these antique robots accompanied the Colicoses to the excavation site. The archaeology team also included a Compi, Didi, and a green priest. While Louis studied the ruins, Margaret worked to decipher Clickus hieroglyphics in hopes of finding answers. Meanwhile, angered by their near-genocide, the hydrogues began to attack human facilities around gas giants. One of their first targets was a sky mine, a huge cloud-top facility that skimmed gas giants for ecti, vital star drive fuel, owned by Cheska's fiancé, Ross Tamblyn. Roamers and their sky mines are the main suppliers of ecti to the Hansa and the Ildiran Empire. The hydrogues also destroyed the space station left to observe the new sun at the Clickus torch site, never demanding terms, never showing mercy. These unexpected attacks stunned both the Hansa and the Roamers. Chairman Wenceslaus met with the commander of the Earth Defense Forces, EDF, Gruff General Kurt Lanyon, to discuss the threat. Old King Frederick worked to rally the populace, recruiting new volunteers for the EDF. Vowing revenge for her brother Ross, spunky roamer Tasia Tamblyn heard the call and ran off to join the military, taking her Compi, EA, and leaving her brother Jess in charge of the family water mines. Although Ross's death left Jess Tamblyn and Cheska Peroni free to profess their love, they couldn't bring themselves to take advantage of the tragic situation for personal gain. Meanwhile, Raymond Aguera continued training to become the next king, watched over by Ox. At first, he enjoyed the change from the rough streets to the opulent palace, but soon he began to resent the rigid control imposed upon him. To his horror, he discovered that the Hansa had arranged the deaths of his family. On Ildira, the green priest Nera spent a great deal of time with Prime Designate Jorah, who was destined to become the next Ildiran leader. Though he had many assigned mates, he genuinely fell in love with Nera. Another son of the Mage Imperator, the grim and intense Dobro designate Udru, interrogated Nera about her telepathic potential as a green priest, then reported to the Mage Imperator about secret Ildiran breeding experiments on the planet Dobro. Udru suggested that Nera might have the DNA potential they needed for the breeding project. Digging through supposedly perfect and indisputable records of the past, an Ildiran historian uncovered documents proving that the hydrogues had appeared long ago in a previous war, but that all mention of the conflict had been censored from the saga of 7 Sons. Before he could reveal his shocking discovery, the Mage Imperator killed him, saying, "I wanted it kept secret." Solar Navy Commander Adar Korin promoted Zahn, the firstborn son of Prime Designate Jorah, and took the fleet to the gas giant Krona III, the site of an old Ildiran sky mining facility. When hydrogue war globes rose from the clouds to destroy the Ecti facility, the Solar Navy engaged in a furious battle. Although hydrogue weaponry proved far superior, one Ildiran sub-commander crashed his battleship into the nearest sphere, destroying it and giving the Solar Navy time to retreat with the rescued sky miners. In the thousands of years chronicled in the Saga of 7 Sons, no Ildiran had ever experienced such a terrible and humiliating defeat. On Earth, the EDF built new ships and commandeered civilian spacecraft to mount a defense against further hydrogue attacks. Relinda Kett was forced to surrender all of her merchant ships to the war effort except for the voracious Curiosity. Newly enlisted Tasia Tamblyn excelled in military training, besting spoiled brat Earth recruits. Her particular bane was Patrick Fitzpatrick III. Her closest friend was fellow trainee Rob Brindle. For 5 years the Hydrogue War continued. The human race and the Eldiran Empire struggled to cope with the loss of star drive fuel. King Peter announced strict rationing schemes, taking public blame for the act while Basil Wenceslaus made all the real decisions. Romer daredevils led by Jess Tamblyn and Del Kellum, a clan head who ran shipbuilding operations in the rings of the gas planet Oscavel, made hit-and-run sweeps on gas giants, grabbing Ekti before the Hydrogues could strike them. Many missions ended in tragedy. Prime Designate Jorah was told that his beloved Nira had been killed in a fire. The Mage Imperator kept the Dobro breeding scheme secret from him, along with the fact that Nira was alive and well, being used as a test subject. After bearing Osira, Jorah's own daughter, Nira gave birth to several more half-breed children. She had no choice but to perform the slave labor imposed on her and other human captives taken generations ago from a lost colony ship, the Burton. To ensure that no one from the Hansa discovered the breeding camp, the Dobro Designate ordered the destruction of the derelict Burton. Adar Corin reluctantly followed his orders but was disturbed to get rid of such a historic relic. The breeding program had to remain secret. On Nira's home planet of Therak, Reynold searched for a suitable wife, accompanied by his younger sister Estara, since he would soon replace his parents as the leader of his people. Their grandparents urged them both to choose a good match, since Reynold and Estara had plenty of responsibility on their shoulders. Cut off from the traditional business of sky mining, the Romers developed new schemes for obtaining fuel, from breaking down cometary ice to flying huge nebula sails. Eccentric engineer Koto Akaya established a risky metals processing colony on the extremely hot planet of Isperos. At the shipyards in the rings of Oscavel, Del Cullum showed Jess all he had done. His daughter Zet was clearly interested in Jess, but he was still in love with Cheska. Jess's sister Tasia was sent with a group of battleships to the rebellious Hansa colony of Wairika, where settlers were hoarding Ekti. The EDF cracked down hard, first isolating and then raiding Wairika, confiscating all star drive fuel for military uses. Tasia was uneasy that the EDF chose to turn their might against their own struggling colonies instead of the real Hydrogue enemy. Chairman Wenceslas, who had been hoping that Margaret and Louis Colicos might unearth another weapon as useful as the Clickus torch, discovered that the archaeologists had vanished without a trace. Although their scholar's son, Anton Colicos, had sent repeated inquiries about his missing parents, his letters vanished into the Hansa bureaucracy. Before Anton could learn anything, he received a surprise invitation from an Ildiran historian, Rememberer Vaosh, to study the saga of 7 sons on Ildira. He eagerly accepted. Chairman Wenceslas sent the merchant woman Relinda Kett to Krenna to pick up an undercover spy, Davlin Lotz, and take him to Reen de Co in order to discover what had happened to the Colicos team. While on Krenna, Relinda also met with her favorite ex-husband, Branson B. Bob Roberts, who had been drafted to fly EDF recon missions against the Hydrogues, but chose to go AWOL instead. Leaving B. Bob behind, Relinda took Davlin to Reen de Co, where they found the bodies of Louis Colicos and the Green Priest, but no sign at all of Margaret or their compy Didi. Hapless, kidnapped Didi watched the evil Clickus robots perform horrific tests on captured compies to free them from the programming that forced them to obey humans. Didi also discovered that thousands of Clickus robots, buried in a sort of hibernation, were being reawakened as part of their insidious schemes. The robots took little Didi to the bizarre high-pressure cities of the Hydrogues on a gas giant. There, Didi learned that the Clickus robots were forming a deadly alliance with the Hydrogues against humans, but the little compy was